Kids could stand by their desks. They didn't have to sit and just sit there. It
Mhm.
was a
Mhm.
completely different environment where my son even thrived. That you go, okay, could it be as simple as this in the future to have our future kids, our
Mhm.
community members thrive versus be 15, 16 years old and pregnant and struggling with substance use, and we continue having this cyclical generational trauma and addiction.
Yeah, I mean, shifting to the mom side, what's the most common misconception about, because we always look at these mothers and then there's been movies of bad moms doing this, to their kids or whatever, all different kinds of things, giving them bleach so they go in the emergency room all the time. Like we have this like stigma here and especially in the United States of bad moms. What's the most common misconception with these mothers that are born with an AS?
That they don't care. They absolutely care, and that they don't love their babies. Oh my gosh, I've never met a mom that doesn't love her baby. I've met moms that didn't show up at the hospital because they felt that their baby was better off without them.
Right. The addiction takes over.
Yeah, and also we didn't make them feel great. When
Hmm.
you have to have security there and you get to visit for 30 minutes and they're looking at you and then you leave your baby crying. I had one mom explain that. And she goes, it's just better. My baby was better without me. And what baby's not going to cry when their mom leaves?
Hmm.
They're going to. And so they love their kids and they just may not be healthy enough. They're hopeless. And I tell all of my staff, I'm like, it is not hard to be kind. It is not hard to, welcome somebody in, tell them congratulations, because babies are to be celebrated. And maybe it's not in the right environment, but maybe your simple word of congratulations will change the trajectory of this child's life by using one word.
Yeah, and I know there has to be this guilt and fear that is prevalent. There also has to be like, I'm not good enough. I don't think I can do this. I've got this hanging over my head. I mean, how do you work with your staff? And then also, how can we shift society's judgment to compassion?
Yeah. I think for staff and society, I needed like the aha. I needed to understand the science behind addiction. Like, I just thought you were just a moral failure, a bad person, you just make bad choices.
Hmm.
I didn't understand that when you take an opiate and your body makes opiates, opiates are our happy juice. When we laugh, you're releasing endorphins. That's what makes you happy. When you're taking an opiate, yeah, maybe you're taking it initially because you're partying, you know, maybe you're prescribed it for a knee surgery, uh, but eventually you're not taking that opiate for the high. You're taking that opiate to be well. And what that means is just to function, just to get out of bed, you need to have that drug to replace the natural dopamine that your body's not making anymore because you've been taking all of it. You've told your body you don't need it. But once you learn and understand the science behind it sure does make much more sense to me. Just
Hmm.
like if a diabetic, their pancreas isn't working, so their insulin isn't isn't being secreted, is working too much, not enough. We understand that as a society. We go, okay, so you take insulin, that's what you do. Us as a society, and even those that struggle with addiction, all of us need to take the stigma away, look at the science, and understand that yeah, maybe it started as a choice, but so did diabetes. I mean, type 2, you didn't exercise, you and I are talking about not eating right, you're sedentary, you gain weight. Okay, diabetes came. Those were choices that you
Yes.
made.
100%.
And with opiate use disorder, aka addiction to opiates, maybe you started partying, maybe you were prescribed them for a knee surgery, but you got to the point that you could not live, you could not function
Hmm.
without those medications. And the stigma that comes along with that. So many of my families have, I had one mom that had two babies. Second baby was C-section. She was parenting, doing great. We sent her home. It probably was about 2017, 2018. And us as medical providers sent her home with 30 days of Percocets. She has C-section. Well, she lost both of her babies. When I met her, it was right after her third baby, and she was struggling with heroin use. She's like, asking her what happened, why. She goes, I got the pills, I took them the way I was supposed to, and then I'm a brand new mom. I'm supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to be taking care of my kids. This is what women do.
Mhm.
And I'm sick if I don't take it. And you go to your
Yes.
doctor, you get it filled until you can't get it filled anymore. And then the shame, even the um, stigma of someone that's struggling on top of themselves is bad. And until we completely look at the science, we're not going to make any headway. And honestly, that's where I had to go. I learned about the science, and the more and more I read, I was like, "Oh my gosh, these are not bad people." Substances definitely do make people do bad things. If you look at people in jail, you look at, kids in foster care, you can look at that data and go, okay, these kids have a higher chance at substance abuse issues later on. But you're looking at adverse childhood experiences, things that families have been through, the trauma that they've been through, like you were talking about with PTSD. Our kiddos' brains change,
Mhm.
and that trauma that they go through, and if that's trauma because their mom's struggling with substance use, or because they didn't have food on the table, or their parents were in jail, that's what we're doing wrong in society, is not recognizing uh, that our kids just need us a little bit more. They need stability.